Hey, Charlie.
How are you, sir?
Good.
I actually remember to show up. Just get out of my side. Slightly, you know, routines and stuff, and not come for 2 years.
Yeah, are you guys right outside, huh?
When I cut off, or you know yourself, after about 12, 13, 14, heard all you're gonna hear.
Yeah.
30 minutes. A minute to wrap up.
Yeah.
Nobody fuss.
Yeah.
See you.
Alex, what about?
Sure.
All right.
So bad. Wow.
But, you know, feedback. Stay away from the cigarettes.
Just go in the car.
I'm gonna go sit in the truck.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
That's me.
Next question. Whoosh. Yes, me. Yeah, so what? No, it's 50, 60 people. Yeah.
That's the first benefit of having solar house. In a little town like we got right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Big enough to host it. So we're gonna host it. Otherwise,
Oh, okay. Probably not. Leslie MoDOT.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
Haven't seen you in a
I'm
while.
on a roll.
Don't let me interrupt.
That's real rude.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, well.
There you go.
Do I stop? Do I just finish the comments?
Yeah.
Concerned about the.
I saw people lying, but I didn't.
But
You guys have to make those turns. Yeah. You guys drive those. You know, call over people. Like, she went inside. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the truck is late.
Yeah.
Keep them saying, county material. Well, I guess you could bring it to the pieces. We used to do something.
I guess we'll go ahead and we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with introductions. I'm Jeremy Cant, Southeast Missouri Regional Planning Commission.
Alex McElroy, SEMPO staff.
I'm Dave Willinger, City of Jackson. Jim Rhodes, City of Jackson.
Joe Killian, MoDOT.
Andy Meyer, MoDOT.
Kelly Watson for Telemobile Cape County Transit. Stacy Kinder, Mayor Pedro.
Charlie Herbst, Cape County Commission. Greetings.
Mayor Jackson. Jeff Long, Southeast Missouri.
And on the line, we have Marlon Mills and Michael Brandon.
We'll go ahead and take a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of minutes for the September 21st, 2022 meeting.
We approve the minutes.
Second. Motion, Mayor House, second by Commissioner Herbst. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes. I don't have any comments to share at this point, so we'll go ahead. Any public comments from? Hearing none, we'll move to new and unfinished business. Starting with resolution number 2022-17, resolution adopting the electric vehicle readiness plan.
Okay, so we've had a draft of this plan kicking around since May. It's went through several rounds of comments. Our steering committee was able to take a couple months and review and issue comments. We've been incorporating those. The board received a formal presentation back in August. We then opened it up to public comments, and we did receive some additional comments from Cape Electric and EDTV Motor Works in town. All those comments have been included. We've also added a conclusion to the end. We've reformatted the recommendations and goals to be aesthetically in line with the rest of the document, where it kind of stood out as if a different graphics team had put it together. So they repackaged it and made it a nice cohesive look to it. And then we've also added appendices. That's why it's a 193-page document instead of just under 100. There was a large appendices that includes the sample RFPs. We have the survey results from the survey we conducted, and then they have just some sample research that they had done throughout the course of the study. So the TPC this month reviewed it and recommended approval to the board.
Read through some of it. It's a very good plan. Very important. So, accept a motion for the resolution.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Next on the agenda, we have the MoDOT and IDOT performance targets.
These are just for discussion and just for your review. I've been sharing these with the TPC starting back in September. The TPC and the board traditionally have recommended going with the state's performance targets. After the TPC has reviewed it last month, they had recommended continuing that practice. MoDOT's continuing with the same trajectory with the safety focus on 0 by 2030 for fatality reduction, and then 0 by 2040 for serious injury. The road, bridge, and system performance targets won't actually be affected by MoDOT till December 16th, which is why I didn't bring it for any action right now. We want to wait until they formally approve theirs, but this is their draft right now. So most likely it'll come back to you looking exactly the same, either next month or January, just depends on the timing.
Are these performance targets by region, or is this the state?
We can elect to establish our own, or we can support the targets that MoDOT sets.
And MoDOT's targets are statewide.
Correct.
They're not by region.
There was some discussion in the TPC about when would it make sense to consider establishing our own targets for safety and system performance. But we thought with our current application for the comprehensive safety action plan, if that comes to fruition, that might provide us a lot more information on our region as far as what targets would make sense.
Yeah, I guess my if MoDOT goes to a regional basis, then it'd be easy for us to follow. because
Right.
Right now, they haven't done anything statewide.
discussion? Quick question for MoDOT. So the goals are 0, which is great. You know, everybody'd like to see 0 fatalities and 0 serious injuries, but realistically, is there a number or something that's background?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the goal speaks for itself.
That's good. Well, we'll move on to member reports, and we'll start with City Kate.
I have nothing to report.
All good for City Jackson.
Yeah, no. Now, here, a big, as we've already talked about, a big discussion this week in Jackson is moving in 2 large beams so that we can build a bridge on Mary Street. Right down the street from Jeff, and so Jeff's seen it more than I have.
I hear
They did bring them in, they did set them, and they're on with the construction of the bridge on Mary Street. That's all good. Be good to get that open, and I think we'll get a lot more use out of that street, which is a collector street, once we get a bridge in there, and so we anticipate that working out well. We continue to do a lot of grant work. We received a grant from MoDOT on our sidewalk / trail on East Main Street, so that's we're proceeding on with that, and we're looking at some future grants on additional future grants on trails, another one on a bridge on Sunset, in the Sunset subdivision. And then we also have one in, or going in, not sure where it is, on streetlights for East Jackson Boulevard. Again, most of these are American Rescue Fund bases, but there's some other programs in there. So Rodney's doing a lot of work on grants along with the engineering department. We're well into our 2023 budget for the city of Jackson, since we do run calendar. Basically, the budget entails certainly our asphalt program, our concrete program, as always, and probably the biggest project otherwise, which we'll be meeting with MoDOT next Monday on, Monday, will be the Highway 61 project from the roundabout to Independence. So, that's probably the biggest project that we have. And I think that's the key things. Rodney, Jim, anything else?
Nothing extra, Mayor. Mayor, I would just say our consulting engineer started survey work this week at the roundabout at Deerwood and North High Street. So that's on the way.
Next month, and that'll be a year later.
Yep.
That's all I.
There's no one here from Scott City, so we'll move to Kate County.
I'm just trying to find out from Mr. Kepper exactly. We're building 3 bridges. I think 2 are BRO. One of them, I think we got a grant to do. Get ready to answer me there. We did get a land soil conservation water, that grant for trail or County Park. That just connect with that Maple Hollow Trail that conservation has, comes up from Baldwin Park, connecting that, going through our park and headed over toward Melena's and toward Sportsplex. So, in a perfect world, Jackson would get a trail grant. Plus Larry Payne's heart, he's not here. He wanted that extra space underneath that interchange there at DDI to have some space there for, he wanted more lanes there, but also pedestrian or something there too. So have to figure that out at some point, I guess. So, all 3 of our bridges are BRO bridges. But that $1 million bridge we're doing, I think, between Perry County and Cape County, I think we've got some other funding for that. It's one of those ones.
That was going through governor's cost share.
Yeah. We saved a lot of, overlaid a lot of roads this summer and paved a lot. I can't tell you the exact numbers. I don't think the numbers are all in yet. To do that at $71 a ton instead of 48, trying to cut in our program a little bit. But
Special road, do you have anything for special road district? Or none? Okay, transit authority.
We have recently been working with a transportation coalition that's being spearheaded by United Way. We had a town hall meeting. I believe that was mid-October. It was very well attended. And then we're now in the process of working on getting surveys. We have print surveys available in our buses and cabs and in our office, but there's also an online digital survey that's available, it's posted on our Facebook page, and also you can access that through the United Way of SEMPO's website. And we're going to be continuing to work with them throughout the next several months. We continue to still looking for drivers. That's a challenge. Although not to jinx things, but in the past month, we have seen an uptick in applicants that meet all the requirements. And within the past few weeks, we've hired about 5 or 6 new drivers. So that's good news. We still have our $500 hiring incentive that's being offered for new drivers. Another challenge that we're faced with is obtaining replacement vehicles. That's an ongoing challenge. And right now it looks like, for the most part, it's going to be from the time we order vehicles, which right now we don't have, there's no contracts out from ODOT Transit on vehicles. But from the time that we order to the time that we receive, it's going to be almost a 2-year turnaround. Whereas in the past, it was usually, I've seen it go anywhere from 9 months to 15 months, but now we're looking at almost a 2-year period. So that's kind of discouraging. So even if I hire a lot of new drivers, I've got to have the vehicles to put them in. But we're working on it and trying to find alternative solutions. That's all I have now.
Moving on. Seymour RPC, we are working on the transit plan, the regional transit plan. So we'll be in touch. Make sure if you haven't heard from Drew yet, you will.
Okay.
That's moving forward. We do have our drone. We took it down to Jackson, took aerials of the placing those girders on bridge yesterday, so that we'll have that footage delivered to them shortly. So that's always an option if you need that service. I don't have anything else to add there, so we'll move on to MoDOT.
Well, first thing, I wanted to go ahead and update you on a few projects that are coming up soon in your area. The first one, I think, was actually raised as a question during the last technical committee meeting. The Route 72, what we would refer to as a mill fill project. I think, Rodney, you asked about that. So that's basically from the intersection of 72 and 34 at a location some of us know as Starlight, and runs into town to the intersection of 25 and 61 at Harps, I think, or Goose Creek, depending on how you want to look at that there. But it's about a 4-mile project, and it does involve milling out existing asphalt sections and replacing those asphalt sections, and then overlaying a few others. There's also some work on the median island through there. There's a few places through there that we're tweaking those islands a little bit. There's some planters through there that never really worked out the way we thought they would. Those will get capped and should match the rest of the islands when we're done. So I think we'll be happy with how that all turns out. But that's in this Friday's letting. So we anticipate taking bids on that on Friday, and keep your fingers crossed. Is the prices that Commissioner Herbst mentioned a minute ago, where we're seeing those kind of issues as well. So in January in the letting, there will be.
What would that mean as far as what's your projected timing for, you're gonna let it, when's the project?
It's scheduled for construction next year.
Next year.
Right, yeah, so Frequently, we let a lot of our paving jobs in the fall and the winter, allowing contractors to book work and start manufacturing their aggregate, getting that ready to go, and then they kind of pick their schedules. Some of our larger projects will have a 2-year window, and that really, the intent there is to let them kind of book work and schedule their work, and hopefully we see a little bit of an economy in scale there when we do that. That's the idea anyway, but with the volatility in the market, that can backfire too. So we're seeing a lot of our projects come in. We're experiencing, the last commission meeting that was held in Cape Girardeau, the report that was shared based on the award from the last letting indicated that we're seeing a 35% difference between our program estimates and our awards. So you can call that inflation, supply chain issues, contractors being already busy, whatever you want to attribute it to, maybe a combination of all those things. But that's what we're seeing right now. So the January letting, there's a project on Route 25, the diversion channel south of Dutchtown. That is to clean up a scour issue that we have at that location that's affecting one of the piers on that bridge. That's about a $300,000 project. In March, there's a project on Route W in Cape County that basically runs from 177 to 61. So that's about a 10-mile resurfacing project. It's about $1.5 million to $2 million estimated. In April, there's a structural signage contract along the major corridors in our district. So that'll include I-55. And so if you've ever drove through the Cape Jackson urban area and thought to yourself, those really big green signs, I can't read them at night. It's not you, it's not your glasses, it's us. They all need to be replaced. Those were all, a lot of them were put up in, I would say 2007 to 2012 range. A lot of them during the, I think we called it the SRI program back then. And so they've timed out. They've reached a point they don't have a lot of reflectivity anymore at night. It's very, very difficult to read. So we hope if that's awarded, that's about $1 million project, and that should march down 55 and correct a lot of that. In May, many of us are fond of the 25 and Route K intersection in Gordonville. The intent is to build a roundabout at that location. And that's about a $750,000 project. I believe there's actually planning for a public meeting to talk about that location. I think that's Gordonville Elementary the first week of December. And hope then is that.
Would you mind sending us a reminder of that?
Yes, we sure can. Tim Pickett's the project manager on that, and I believe that's the intent. I want to say it's December 6th. I'll make sure of that. I've got that on my phone. But the intent there is to share that design with the public and talk about why we feel like that'll address the traffic issues that we've seen subsequent to the Center Junction project. A lot of that traffic we think was generated when we detoured traffic off of Jackson Boulevard, and they learned to take 25 and K and never went back to taking 61. And so we've seen an uptick there. And when we took that temporary signal down, we had a lot of people call and say, what are you going to do now? And so this is kind of an answer to that question. Also in May is a project in Jackson that the mayor referenced earlier, the Hubble Creek Bridge replacement, St. Mary's Street. We're in the planning and design stages of that right now, and we appreciate the city's cooperation on working through the utility issues there. Assuming we keep all that going and acquire all the property, that's scheduled for a May letting. That's about a $3.5 million project for that Hubble Creek Bridge replacement, the Mary Street intersection reconstruction. I'm pretty excited about that one. I drive through that every day, so I'm really looking forward to that going. So those are those are some projects coming up over the next few months that we can kind of keep our eyes on. Another issue that's worth mentioning, I mentioned Center Junction a little bit ago. That interchange project is, for all intents and purposes, completed. And, after the project was opened and it started functioning, we had a truck hit one of the bridges on 55 southbound. We had to make a repair there. We had to basically wait for hopefully the seed mulch to take, and for all that to, you want to make sure that everything's stabilized, it looks good before you leave. All that's pretty well wrapped up. And so we've been in the process of surveying the right-of-way remainders in hopes of transferring those properties in the near future. The hope is that by this coming spring, we'll be ready to do that. Governor's Cost Share Program, we mentioned that earlier in relation to the lighting in Jackson. That was one of 5 projects that was submitted by our planning partners and requesting Governor's Cost Share funding. All 5 of those projects were deemed to be eligible for funding and were advanced scoring. So the different divisions at MoDOT score those applications, and then the folks at the Department of Economic Development take a look at those as well. They'll put their numbers together and rank those, and we'll find out hopefully sometime in December whether or not any of those were funded. But cautiously optimistic that the 5 that were submitted in our regional, hopefully we'll see a few of those funded.
On those, are we competing kind of against the whole state? We had 5, but in the
Yes,
state,
sir.
maybe there's 50, and we're competing against.
Yeah, I don't know the number statewide. I know there are a lot because, the first time around, when this money was carved out by the governor and the legislature, the first time around, that seemed to be a very popular program. And I think the interest has increased.
Okay.
So.
When you say 5 in the regions of the SEMPO or
Our district,
The
the
whole
25 counties in the Southeast District.
there's 5 in the whole district?
Yes. I would be remiss if I didn't advertise the unfunded needs meeting on the 29th of November in Poplar Bluff at the Regional Commission office. That's something I think we're all looking forward to. And tomorrow is the 19th annual bridge competition for high school students in our district. So that's at Academic Hall at Southeast Missouri State University from 9 to about 1. Several hundred submittals from regional high schools. They'll start breaking those bridges probably at 9 a.m. And it's really kind of neat because the students get to come watch that. A lot of cheering, a lot of booing. It's fun. If you're bored and you're interested in the infrastructure, that's kind of a neat thing to do on a cold Thursday maybe. So I better stop talking and turn it over to Joe.
Thanks, Andy. I only have 2 things. The first of which is earlier we've had some mention of the different TAP projects. City of Jackson had 1. City of Cape Girardeau had 2, and then Cape Girardeau County had 1 that the commissioner mentioned at the park, the conservation area up there. And those are, at least 3 of those, the City of Cape and the Jackson project, we have the partially executed agreements. So that information has been given to Drew to go ahead and put together a TIP amendment that we will be discussing at the December TPC meeting. And we'll hopefully, if we've met the requirements, I think we will try to go ahead and get board approval if we have a board meeting in December. If not, that will go then to the January board meeting. Basically, we have to have, it has to be fully approved. The TIP amendment has to be fully approved before we can begin to spend money. So at this point, once they're fully approved locally, the agreements are fully approved, Then after the TIF amendment's done, then the project sponsors will be free to go ahead and do their consultant
Just
selection.
because it falls within the MPO.
Yes. Yeah. And initially, there was some question about whether the Cape County project did, but it easily falls within. I took a look back at the actual specifics on that. So hopefully by the middle of January, those projects will be able to go ahead and move forward with consultant selection. The other item is cost share deadline. MoDOT made a decision this year not to combine the governor's cost share cycle with the regular cost share cycle. That was kind of a mess a few years ago when we did that, trying to keep the rules of the two different programs straight while you're trying to process. I don't know how many projects we had then, but I think we have 42 applications for the governor's cost share cycle this time for the $75 million that were allocated. And anyway, the next regular cost share deadline is January 27th, and the one following that will be April 14th. If there is any interest in pursuing a regular MoDOT cost share application. And that's all that I had. So see if Mike has anything.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Can I ask this is not a priority question, but the one came up. MoDOT's no longer going to put population signs up, my understanding is. What are you going to do about the present population signs that we have in our law?
So that's kind of out of my, yeah, that's kind of out of my wheelhouse, Mayor.
Maybe I'll ask a question and you can come back.
Yeah, let me talk to our traffic department. I can follow up with you on that. I know we're trying to phase out a lot of those signs that we feel like, I think, you know, there's some recommendations from BUTSID that differ from what we've done in the past. And some of that's changed and they're more up to date on that than I am.
Yeah, just let me know. And I understand we no longer do the award signs underneath the signs in the highway too, like state champion signs, like that.
Yeah, that hasn't been a popular position, but that again, I think the intent is that they try to reduce the number of ancillary signs that provide information that really isn't pertinent to the traveling, you know, to a motorist traveling on the highway system. So
Yeah, it's a debatable.
it's
And you see a
been,
sign that's got 6 signs, which one do I look at?
You can only have.
yeah, but everybody likes those signs, and our area engineers have taken a lot of comments on that. It's given them a wonderful opportunity to interact with a lot of folks.
Coaches, schools.
There's no one from IDOT or Federal Highway, so we'll move on to staff report.
All right, to piggyback off what Kelly had shared, we are combining efforts, or at least the public outreach efforts, with the CTA and the United Way for our public transit human services transportation coordination plan. That's part of our fiscal year work plan for the year. We had attended the October 20th community discussions at the Shawnee Sports Complex. We were able to get a lot of good feedback. There were upwards to 60 folks that came to that meeting. So it was very well attended. And then, as Kelly had shared, we have an online survey on the SEMPO's website. It's the same as the United Way survey. They can just scan it with the QR code from their phone and take the survey online, or we're working on print surveys as well. We're also making progress on our 2024-2027 transportation improvement plan update. We have a draft that we've issued to MoDOT. We also hosted a public meeting here at Osage on November 3rd to solicit any comments. The next step will be, once we get all the comments back from MoDOT, Federal Highway, we'll give it to our TPC. We'll then release it for public comment. Then a recommendation from them will go to the board we'll hold a public hearing, and then the board will consider approval at that time. So we're making good progress, but it'll be a little bit until it comes back to the board. A quick update on our Safe Streets and Roads for All. I noticed on their website, they posted that award selections are expected in January. So initial applications were due September 15th, so it's about a 3-month review process for them. In our next meeting for December, we'll have the TIP amendments, hopefully that Joe had mentioned. And then we'll also have a UPWP amendment for Jackson's Traffic Engineering Assistance Program grant that they have received. And then somewhat unrelated, well, it is unrelated to transportation, but if anyone put in for the DNR ARPA program funds, I was told that they're going to be announcing awards this Friday for those. That was they were offered the drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, lead surface lines.
That's Friday.
That's all I have.
Does anyone have any other business or communications they wish to share?
Commissioner, that question you asked about K-25, that meeting on the K-25 intersection is December the 6th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Gordonville Elementary School.
I'll see if Mr. Kepler or somebody can be there. My wife has hip replacement that day, so I might be busy.
I'll try to get a hold of Paul too.
Yeah, I Paul,
Yes, like, you know, I know Representative Ovis was really interested in that too.
because we, of course, we tell people that's MoDOT problem, but we try to, we do try to give some information, beforehand before they call you, which is fine, helps everybody from that. We had a lot of feedback from, gosh, where the traffic signals go. Because they got used to that too, right? Of that kind of thing like that. Of course, they serve their purpose of what they were doing and everything. So thank you for working on the roundabout. We're trying to step that up. And publicly, thank you for raising 177 up by Twin Trees Park there. Cape County, that was huge. I started working on that in 2013, January. From that, so
I think if I had a
not just
dollar,
me, but others, but
if I had a dollar for every time Larry Payne asked me about that, I probably go to 36 and buy a real nice dinner. So I'm like you, I'm really thrilled we finally were able to do that.
Any other business or communications? Hearing none, next board meeting is scheduled for December 21st. Back in this room.
Yes. Yeah, unless otherwise noticed.
All right. And with that, we'll call for motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
thank you. The rate we should really get somebody to take turns.
Yeah.
Who's the first and second?
And then somebody just stops.
Somebody else can like pop up.
All right.
I was wondering this. Come over here and smile.
She had a meeting.
I have not met him. No, I mean, I obviously he's been around in various ways. No, I didn't look for
So we'll see how this turns.
Well, I've been there for 10 years. But I think
Because,
now.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
your department.
When I had meetings over here, I was trying to remember. how to get through the week ago. All those days will pick her up. We just run down the roads. Just get a cheeseburger or something. Just enjoy that. She's a big fan. In fact,
He's bugging Margaret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one story for you.
Yeah. I'm kind of agreeing with you.
So you can see it, you can see it's.
Okay. Well, I have yet to.
I have.
It's kind of funny.
Just eating that.
Kenny would start.
I think it's the
We
salt.
kind of joke.
That Provel cheese has got a lot of salt in it, and put a little bit of dressing on there. For whatever reason, it just tastes fine.
That could be.
Yeah, Darren.
But I really thought it was salt. I like the one on Kings Highway, it's like a restaurant. They've got a salad.
This, and then- And then there was no gravy.
It's,
Sit down.
a pizza or whatever.
And, I guess the prayers are answered. I guess you found out.
People go past it next to my.
Last time I was
there, you know, fix myself a salad. sit there, yes.
So many walk in through the live here.
That's really always the case.
Yeah.
And that works out.
And I think, honestly, that was about perfect. That's-
Yeah, he was.
I had a person saying, "I'm just not gonna drink there." That's perfect. You know, we,
Yeah, so.
but we always go to James, we always go to Art.
That's my hopes did on it. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like you.
Well, at least.
It's easy to get around.
Yeah.
David calls that cracker pizza. He doesn't like it because he says it's cheese on cracker.
But if you like the thing, Chris,
Yeah, I like it. I'll go to Rosati's and eat the Chicago style stuff too, though. I mean, I'm not particular.
I like that, but I have never actually been to one here, really. Years ago, when I went to Domino's. When I got promoted from the technician series up to. We went out there and. We had some friends who've been out there with one before, my wife that went out there. And Pizza, she got like the calzone or whatever. And I worked at Pizza, they brought the calzone out. And that thing is massive. She's supposed to help me order my pizza too. And I was like, I'm looking at her like, hey, we're gonna need to phone a friend. This ain't gonna work. Anyway, I was telling Mike Harris and Billy Griffin about it. And so they sent me a picture later with there's like 3 or 4 of them all gathered around the table where they were tearing it up. And then I took, a couple of years ago, we went out there for something, maybe the Innovations Challenge or something like that out there.